Have you seen the film Past Lives? It tells a love story of three people. Nora, a Korean immigrant living in New York working as a writer, her husband Arthur, and Haesun, who lives in Seoul, and shared a childhood crush with Nora when they were both 12 years old. One Korean philosophical concept plays a huge role in this film, inyon. While it can be loosely translated as fate or destiny, inyon carries much deeper nuances that do not have an equivalent in English. In the Korean language, and more broadly in Buddhist contexts, it holds a richer, more layered meaning. In this video, I'd like to explore how the concept of inyon and the film can inspire photography, art in general, and life itself. To explain using the exact words from the protagonist Nora. It means providence or fate, but it's specifically about relationships between people. I think it comes from Buddhism. And reincarnation, it's an inyon. If two strangers even walk by each other on the street and their clothes accidentally brush, because it means there must be something between them in their past lives. If two people get married, they say it's because there have been 8,000 layers of inyon over 8,000 lifetimes. According to an article from the BBC, inyon originates from the Sanskrit term hatuprataya. This word appears in Buddhist scriptures from around the 2nd century Common Era and means cause and condition. While hetu and prataya are closely related concepts, the idea of inyon as fate carries slightly different nuances. The article suggests that the word inyon was transmitted from India to China, like Buddhism itself, and likely entered Korea during the later Ugayao period. The article also notes that in Korea, inyon is often used to describe a force of destiny that cannot be changed no matter how hard you try. This sense of inevitability might resonate with people even outside of East Asia, but it's not a concept that is commonly verbalized in everyday language elsewhere. I think it's one of the most fascinating aspects of learning another language, encountering words that give a form to emotions or intuitions you've never previously named, and making you more conscious of them. Interestingly, the concept of inyon also exists in Japan, where it is called innen or more casually en. These words carry almost the same nuances as inyon and are commonly used in everyday conversation. Not just in a context of romantic relationships, but when looking for a new apartment or a job. For example, when you get a rejection email from a company after a job interview, you might say, there just wasn't en this time with them. Instead of blaming yourself, it is often used as a way to view things as small events that occurred within a large fate, helping you to move forward with a more positive outlook. Much like Nora's words in a film, this phrase often carries, consciously or not, the sense of unseen connection from past lives. Unlike the Western idea that we shape our destiny through effort,
your future is whatever you make it.
The concept of inyon reflects a more Buddhist perspective, one that encourages us to recognize and aspect our lives as part of the larger flow. Now let me talk about how the concept of inyon is used in a film. I'll try to avoid any spoilers. By just reading a premise, you might expect a classic love triangle story. Two men competing for one woman's love, But as I mentioned earlier, this film doesn't follow the traditional Hollywood movies formula where characters try to win love through assertive actions. Instead, under the concept of inyon, it gently leads us to a deeply Buddhist place, one that quietly affirms the life choices we make amid thousands of past and future lives. I find that to be one of the most fascinating aspects of this film. Past Lives is not a romantic film in a traditional sense. To me, it's a story about universal human experiences and life choices, the irreversibility of those choices. So I'd like to focus on the most important scene in this film. Hassan, Nora's childhood crush, travels to New York to see her. He meets Nora and her husband Arthur, and the three of them sit together at the bar. Normally, in a conventional drama, this scene would lead to conflict, raised voices, jealousy, and confrontation, but that's not what happens here. Instead, Hassan, who represents Nora's past, and Arthur, who represents her present and future, sit at the same table and engage in a conversation that seems to embrace all past, present, future, as well as past and future lives. This scene to me is the pure embodiment of inyon. And one of the most striking moments is when Hassan and Arthur are left alone together. They acknowledge calmly and reflectively that they share inyon. Two people who could have been rivals instead find a sense of human connection that transcends time, a deeply moving scene that beautifully illustrates inyon might truly mean. If inyon actually exists, I felt this is what it looks like. This scene is actually based on a real experience by the film's director, Celine Song. She once found herself sitting in a New York bar between her Korean childhood crush and her American husband, acting as a translator between them. In that moment, she felt as if she were drinking with her past, present, and future selves, and that sensation inspired her to make the film. It might depend on a genre or a purpose, but I believe that photography is one of the most poetic art forms to sense inyon. As Nora says in a film, even the brushing of clothes as you pass someone on the street can be inyon. So perhaps it's fair to say that there's inyon in the subjects that compel us to press the shutter. Especially nowadays, when photography is casually enjoyed by many people, believing that even a candid snapshot holds a connection from a past life could bring deeper meaning to what we do. When you look back on each photo you've taken, whether of a person, animal, or any object, you might feel that if you can believe that if there's some inyon between you and your past lives, it might open up a new way of appreciating your work. A photo you once considered nothing special might become deeply significant to you, or perhaps in the next life, you and your subject will form a profound relationship. The three characters in a film were all mature and thoughtful, and I learned a lot from them, the importance of accepting the choices we and others make. Through the concept of inyon, I learned how to gently embrace both myself and others. This video might have strayed away from the topic of photography, but this film has become deeply important to me. So if you ever get the chance, I highly recommend watching it.